So today we're going to start with talking about the box model in CSS. So the box model describes the way that CSS determines the size and spacing of HTML elements. The browser will see every HTML element as a rectangular box, and the spacing between elements on your page, such as headings and paragraphs, is currently set by the default margin and padding. Margin and padding are other CSS elements, which we'll get into soon. So you can see this is what the box model looks like. You've got your title, and it has a box around it, and then there's another box with that paragraph, another box for the image, another box for your About Me heading, and then another box for that paragraph, and then the whole website is also in a box, and that's the body. So these are the 5 CSS properties that are used to determine size and spacing. The width sets the element to fill a specific width. The height sets the element to fill a specific height. The margin adds or removes space around the element. Padding adds and removes space inside the element, and a border adds a border just outside the element. So you can see from these images, if we've got a paragraph with the content, the lorem ipsum dolor, then you've got padding is between the content of the element and then the outside. And then you've got the border, which is around the padding, and then you have the margin, which is like the space outside of the border and the content. So the margin is like how if you're typing up a Word document or Google Docs, then that's the margin, same thing. And then you can see on the right side, there's a bit more specific. You've got the content, and then the padding is around the content, and then the border goes around that, then the margin goes around that. So let's talk a bit about margin and padding. So the values for both margin and padding can be declared in a variety of formats, which we will go over in the next slide. Setting either value to 0 will remove any default spacing, and positive values will add spacing. Margin can also have negative values, while padding cannot. Each can have values declared with different units. You can see a list of all of the units in CSS at this website, which I will send in the chat right now. And this is a really useful resource that I use a lot. Okay, so then if a background color is set, it will not show in the margin, since margin adds space around the outside of the element. So if you've got a paragraph element and then you set the background color to red, but the body background is like blue, then the margin will still be blue and not red like the element. So here are the 4 shorthand ways to declare margin and padding. You can have one parameter where all sides have the same value, so padding is 10 pixels, margin is 10 pixels. You can have 2 parameters where there's one value for the top and the bottom and one value for the left and the right. So padding, 2 pixels will be on the top and the bottom, and the left and the right side will have 10 pixels of padding, and then same thing for the margin. You can have 3 parameters where the first value is for the top, the second value is for the left and the right sides, and then the third is for the bottom. So you can have the padding where you've got 2 pixels is the top padding. You have 10 pixels on the left side, 10 pixels on the right side, and then you also have 2 pixels on the bottom. And then margin is the same, 2 pixels on the top, 10 pixels on each side, and then 2 pixels on the bottom. You could also have 4 parameters where the values are assigned clockwise starting from the top. So in this case, you've got 2 pixels on the top side, 10 pixels on the right side, 2 pixels on the bottom, and then 10 pixels on the left. Do you both understand how this works, or is it going a bit too fast?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So margin and padding can also be declared the longhand way, one side at a time. This can include all the sides or just certain sides. So it's just the same type of thing for the selectors. Sorry, not for the selectors, for the declarations. You can go margin top 2 pixels, margin right 2 pixels, margin bottom 2 pixels, margin left 2 pixels. And in the example on the left, they're all the same, but this is really useful if you need to have a different margin or padding on every side. So on the right, you can see I've got the selector for image, and then I set the height to be 30 vmin, which is one of the units included in that link I sent in the chat. Then you've got the margin top is 10 pixels, the margin right is 10 pixels, the margin bottom is 10 pixels. I only declared 3 margins, not 4, so it's also useful if you only want margins on certain sides or padding on certain sides. Okay, so now we're going to talk about padding, border, and margin. So padding is the perimeter around the content, such as the text of a paragraph. The border is the perimeter around the padding and the content. And then the margin is a perimeter around the outside of the element, including the border, padding, and content. So this diagram here makes it easier to wrap your mind around this because it is a bit confusing with the three of them. So just try to remember which one is which, especially when you're doing your CSS. If you mix them up, then it could reconfigure your whole website and make it kind of messy. So there's also something called border box. By default, width is the horizontal size of the content, which does not include the padding and the border. So remember, padding is around the content and border is around the padding and the content. So you may prefer having width as the total horizontal size of the entire element, including the padding and the border. So this second option is called the border box fix. To implement the border box fix to your web page, you add the following code to your CSS file. So you can see you've got this HTML as your selector, which you will write in the CSS file. This actually lets you edit this lets you apply styles to your entire HTML. And then you'll have box sizing, border box, and then two asterisks before, asterisks after box sizing here. So this border box fix was made by someone, and you can basically just copy and paste this code into your CSS. So I'll just send this in the chat as well. And if you do want to implement the border box fix, you could add this to your CSS file. And you can also read more about this fix at this website, which I will send in the chat as well. So if you're curious about that, then you can read more about how it works. And then we've also got this diagram shows you what the default width, how the default width works. And then on the bottom, you've got the border box width. So by default, then the width is just the length of the content. And then we've got padding outside of it. And then we've got the border. When you implement the border box fix, then you've got the content. And then the padding is also the same. The padding and then the border included is actually the length of the width you set. Otherwise, the width is only dealing with the content. So borders. A border with a specified thickness can be added to surround any of your elements. You must specify a border style or your border will not show on the screen. You can also specify a border color to make it a different color from the rest of the element. Your border style and border color can be declared at the same time as the border, like so. So I've got the border element in my CSS. I've set the border thickness to be 5 pixels, and you always have to specify a thickness, otherwise your border will not show. And then I have dashed is the border style. So it'll be like a dashed line, and then I've set the color to be white. And you can also see a list of the different border styles at this link, which I will send in the chat when my PowerPoint stops glitching. Okay. And I'll also send all of this in a review on Slack afterwards. Oops. Okay, so text alignment. In CSS, you can change the alignment of the content in your sections by using text align. This is also an easy way to center the images in a section. The most commonly used values with text align are left, right, center, and justify. This spaces every line of text to be the same width. If you want to read more about the different values, you can visit this site, but you can see on the image in the bottom, left will align it all to the left, center will just align all your text to the center, right aligns it all to the right, and then justify makes every line the same width. So this is just like if you're in like a word processor or in Google Docs, it's like those symbols. So I will also send this link. And continue. So typography. To disable the default bold style of headings, so in CSS, when you make a heading, then the headings are automatically bolded no matter what your what your font is set to. but you can change that to set font weight to normal, and this will just make it regular text instead of a bold heading text. You can also set different styles with font weight, including bold, lighter, bolder, and you can also use number values. And there's a list of all the possibilities at this website because there are quite a lot, which is now also sent in the chat. And you can also change the font size and the line height, which is the space between each line of your text. So in this example, we've got H1, and then I changed my font size to 75 pixels. Then we've got a paragraph selector with the font size 18 pixels and the line height at 1.5. So this is just like when you're typing a document, you would have your line spacing. So now you can try adding some spacing to your page. Add spacing to your liking and experiment with the various units. So you can try out the border box fix. I've got the text is pasted in the group chat, or sorry, in the video chat. If you don't like it, just comment out or delete that section of the code. You can also edit the default margin that Glitch sets for the body. So you remember margin is the space outside of the element. So if you look at your website now, that would be where your body is, and then you've got space between the edge of your screen and the body text. You can also add padding to your text space elements and add a border. And padding, remember, is the space outside of the content, so outside of the text in the element. You can also add a border to one of your sections, and don't forget to specify the border style. You could also edit the weight, the width, and the height of your elements to your liking. So this would be helpful for your images to make sure that they're spaced correctly on your website. You can also change the text align property of the different sections on your web page. So this will make it left justified, right justified, center justified, etc. And then you can edit the typography of your web page. So remember, this is whether it's bold, italics, normal, etc. So I'll give you some time to do this now, probably maybe 10 minutes. If you've finished all of this before then, you can just let me know. But this is something you can play around with a lot and just continue changing and editing and looking at the different units and options. But for now, we'll go until 242 and see how much it can do. Sure. User, if you want to send it to me on Slack, then I can help you with that while Gia works on the adding spacing. Okay, so Yusra, If you look in the bottom left corner of your screen on Glitch, there's something called Tools. So you can click on that, and then if you click the rewind button, there will be a thing that pops up at the bottom of the screen, and there's a slider, and you can use the slider to rewind it. And I think because I can see you had some more code before, which probably is what got deleted, but you can use the slider to go back to get most of what you had, and then it should bring back whatever code got deleted. I'm looking at your HTML file. I'm not sure if you did anything in your CSS, but I'll look at the rewind view for that as well. Okay, so maybe just rewind it to where you see like the most of what most of your missing code, and then I can help you with rewriting what's missing. Yeah, if you rewind, then it'll delete all the code that was not there at that point. So that's why I said just rewind to where most of it is there. And if not, then we can try something else. Okay, so were you able to get most of your code back? Deleted the assets and links that you added. Okay. Do you still have them on your computer? You can try re-uploading them. Also keep in mind on Slack, I've got basically like the walkthrough of everything that we did for the past few days. So if you want to just kind of go in order with those exercises, then you can just see what's missing. And then if you have any questions, then I can also help with that. And Gia, are you doing okay?
All of my CSS deleted yesterday, so I'm just adding it back to my website.
Oh, okay. That's weird that both of your code got deleted. Huh. I never had the issue of my code getting deleted, but there is a posting on the glitch forum of, I guess, some other people had the issue too. So I've just sent the link to that in the chat, and then if it does happen again, then you can send a message to glitch support and they could probably be able to help you recover your missing code, especially later on in the program if you've got a lot more code. And Yusra, I also left some comments in your code of just hints to fix some of the errors that are there. So I know Yusra, you're still working on it. Gia, how are you doing?
I'm almost done fixing up some of my CSS,
Okay.
but some of my links are not working either, so I'm just fixing those as well.
Okay. If you need any more help, you can also send me the link for your project on Slack, and then I can take a look at it if you need help with that.